Okay, this video is for my earth science students, and we're going to be starting another new topic, and this topic is weather. This will be our last topic that we will be covering for the remainder of the school year. So, one thing we want to talk about is always our essential question, and I basically just wrote it out on this whiteboard. And it basically states, how does weather impact people's lives? Because if you think about it, weather is something that is always in the news, that is always being talked about, and it definitely impacts our lives daily. No matter where you live on this particular planet, weather, it impacts your life. It affects your life. The learning target is only one of them. And it states that I can explain how fronts form and the weather they create. So we have fronts that move through, and when they move through, they create weather. But before we get into all of that over the next few weeks, and we start learning about cold air masses and warm air masses and cold fronts and warm fronts and high pressures and low pressures and all of that, I think we really want to just start at the beginning, the basic. So I'm going to move this whiteboard out of the way. And we really just want to talk about what weather is versus climate, because a lot of students get confused between the two. So weather basically is the state of the atmosphere at a particular time and place. It basically measures the temperature and the precipitation of that area at that particular time, and it's measured in what we call short term. A good example of that is the weather forecast. So every day, if you do watch the news, there is a section of the news that includes the weather forecast. Most of you know that my son is studying to be a meteorologist, and that is someone who studies the weather and forecasts the weather. So this is something that happens daily. And happens several times throughout the day as you watch the different, maybe you watch the news in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night, because weather is always changing. It's the state of that atmosphere, again, at that particular time, and it's measured in short term, because one day, as we know, it's 45 degrees, and the next day, it's 60 degrees. So all of this changes. And then I just want to share another slide with you, and this slide is talking about what climate is, because people do confuse these two. So climate is the average weather in a particular region. It measures the temperature and the precipitation, but it measures that particular region over the long term. So a question could be like maybe, how many inches of snow are equal to an inch of precipitation in New York State over the last, 6 months or whatever. So that is the difference, is that climate is measured, usually yearly or every few years. I mean, it's measured every year, but what I mean by that is that it's something that is not measured daily. And so you can look, and say, I live in New York State, but one day I want to move somewhere where the sun always shines. Well, you could find, who has the most sunshine, who has the warmer temperatures, if you like that, who has the least precipitation. Maybe you love the rain or the snow. So then you find the area, on the map that has the most precipitation and the most snow, and then you would maybe move to that area. And so when you are thinking, as you get older, of where you might want to live or move one day, I would definitely look at the climate to see what is sort of the yearly measurements of weather. You could look at the daily ones too, but I would definitely look over the yearly ones, so that you could see, this is the type of climate that I like, and this may be where I want to move. Okay, the rest of this week we'll get into some more. I'll share some more videos as we get into looking at like weather maps and all of that stuff, and air masses and so on, and see how we can figure out what meteorologists do as they sort of predict the forecast.